Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to today's webcast, The Fully Optimized Service Desk. Use continual service improvement for direct bottom line impact. Sponsored by Pomeroy and broadcast by Information Week, UBM TechWeb, and United Business Media, LLC. I'm John Sote, and I'll be your moderator today. We have just a few announcements before we begin. This webcast contains audience polling. The polling questions will appear in the slide presentation window. Please complete the polls when they appear and click on the Submit Answer button located on the polling slide window. Thanks in advance for your participation. You can participate in the Q&A session by asking questions at any time during this webcast. Just type your question into the Ask a Question area and then click the Submit button. At this time, we recommend that you disable pop-ups within your browser. The slides will advance automatically throughout the event. You may also download a copy of the slides by clicking on the Information button located at the bottom of your screen. This webcast is being broadcast through a Flex console. This means you have more control over your view and over the webcast tools. You can resize the presentation window by dragging the windows from the corners. You will notice buttons at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to click on these to open the supporting content and user tools in different panels. If you need technical assistance, submit a question and open the Q&A panel to see any written responses back to you. We value your feedback and use this to ensure that our webcasts improve to meet your needs. Please click on the feedback form in the information area to provide your feedback at the end. Now on to the presentation, the Fully Optimized Service Desk. Use continual service improvement for direct bottom line impact. Discussing today's topic are Bill Coffey, Vice President of Pomeroy's Global Service Center, and Paula Admonson-King, Service Level Director of the Global Service Desk. Bill Coffey is Vice President of Pomeroy's Global Service Center. He joined the company in 2007 to centralize service management for its major service desk clients. His leadership has been instrumental in the company's attainment of EIDL and HDI certifications and the implementation of econometric modeling, continual service improvement, and knowledge-centered support methodologies as company best practices. Bill holds several industry-recognized certifications, including EIDL V3 Expert and HDI Support Center Director. Prior to joining Pomeroy, Bill held management positions at Sun Microsystems, Tandem Computer, and Wang Laboratories. Also with us is Paula Admonson-King, who is Service Level Director of the Global Service Desk for Pomeroy. She joined Pomeroy over 6 years ago and has over 15 years industry experience. Paula holds several industry-recognized certifications, including EIDL Foundation 3.0, Continual Service Improvement, Service Design, and HDI Support Center Manager. Prior to joining Pomeroy, Paula held key management positions with GE Capital IT Solutions and Siemens Business Services in both the U.S. and international markets. And so with that, over to you, Bill.
Thank you, John. We're going to move quickly through this. The presentation is available for you to download. I'll comment on certain slides, but we've given you what we think is a basic template for you to organize for continuous service improvement at your service desk, depending on what type of commitments you're willing to make and how interested you are in driving towards improved service and cost reductions. We organized our agenda for you, where we're going to talk about how we've organized our desk specifically for continuous service improvement, how we do that, and how we make decisions about what to do at the service desk to improve service or reduce cost based on deep data measurements. And then we can use some examples about how we've delivered return on investment or value on investment to particular clients. We're a multi-service, multi-tenant service provider, but we also run our internal IT desk for our company, which has about 3,700 employees. We run all of them exactly the same. We adopted the ITIL framework a few years ago, version 3. All our managers receive foundations and 3 core certifications in operations, transitions, and CSI, and HDI certification. So we're deeply committed to those external certification paths, and they taught us a lot. With that said, I want to make sure that we're on the same page about what we consider a service desk. For us, it's an IT function. It's the single point of contact for all IT activities for our various clients. We also have clients that are in what we would call the help desk business, where there's an attempt to resolve an incident, and then it's logged and escalated to the appropriate resolver within the company. Our goal is to resolve everything possible at the service desk, both incidents where there's an interruption in service or requests for whatever is necessary for the end user to receive the productivity they need from the resources of the company. As you can see from this diagram, this is essentially where we seek to organize each of the dedicated desks that we operate for clients, either in our service center or at their site, as well as our basic taxonomy of how we organize all the functions. Key is our incident management system and our knowledge center support system and processes. In our environment, the service desk has level 1 call handling. Level 2 are escalations within the service desk, attempting to resolve the more sophisticated, complicated, maybe application-oriented incidents, requests to receive. And then functions such as access management, certain components of problem management are also performed at the service desk. The goal for most of our clients are to push everything possible away from desk side support, the network, the application development group, the data center, push it to the service desk and have it resolved on the first contact. You'll see the various modes of access that most of our clients are offering their end users in the upper left-hand corner. So that's what we're talking about today. How do we optimize this particular model? Pardon me while I move a slide. And the imperative, if you are like me and attend these type of web sessions periodically through the year over the last 5 to 10 years since they've been available, I'm happy if I leave one imperative for me to leave and go try and execute, where I'm convinced that there's something of value. And this is the slide for you in that area. The point that we're trying to make is that a service desk typically has evolved from a help desk, and it's probably not been organized with very specific roles defined for these 4 components of functional work. So in our service desks, all of them, including our internal, we have service level management broken out as a discrete function, and these are the people that answer the phone and their managers. They're using the tools that knowledge management or CSI or the support services group have provisioned and assure are there and available, but they're doing the people management, and they're involved in the individual agent, analyst, in growth, their performance, their compliance to committed processes, and us executing on our obligation under our service level agreements or our operating level agreements, depending on whether it's a customer or internal. An important thing to know is that you may recognize these functions, say, yeah, we do them, but I would challenge you if you say, if in your organization your service desk manager is also your knowledge manager and also your quality assurance person, we think you're not probably getting what you can out of that organization. We also understand there may be people involved in this call where you have a small organization. You may have 3, 5, 7, 10 analysts total dedicated to your service desk. But that's really irrelevant. The question is, do you have specific roles with accountability and descriptions assigned to these people, and do you have their work structured in a way that they have dedicated time during the week to commit themselves to the knowledge management or the service improvement activities that are important to continue to grow the value or the return on investment that you want out of your service desk. So that's why we call it roles instead of positions. Fortunately, in our organization, we're large enough that we can have dedicated teams for all 4 of these. The majority of our employees are in the service level management, but we have dedicated teams in knowledge and dedicated teams for QA and dedicated teams handling all the minutiae, the back office administrative duties to allow the service level manager, the people facing the clients and managing our people, to focus exclusively on that. With that said, A brief description of service level management for us is what I just described. That's the people answering the calls, taking the incidents or the service requests, assuring that they're resolved if all possible, properly documenting if they're escalating, and then watching the escalations to assure that they're being resolved in a acceptable service level compliant point of time. We also then have people in the roles of knowledge management. We've adopted the Knowledge Center support. It's easy to Google, Knowledge Center support if you're not familiar with it. It's the latest evolution of how to do knowledge management. And we like it because of the closed loop life cycle that assures that the actual knowledge you're working with is assessed as it relates to its applicability, known as vitality, and that there's a loop assuring that if it's not vital, robust, with content with quick resolution and high success rates, that the people actually using it, whether it's the analysts themselves or if you have a self-serve portal, the end users, they're telling you that it's not robust enough. Or if they've learned a workaround, the process of knowledge center support assures that that information gets documented, added to the script, and the knowledge improves. The next group we have, you'll see in the Chicago diagram here for cause and effect, but as an example, is a dedicated CSI team. Now the team can be essentially a role, and it can be dedicated as it relates to a period of time during the week. As an example, in our environment, Thursday and Fridays are light days, so if I had a small desk, I'd have Thursday afternoon and Friday afternoon as dedicated time for the people that have the analytic mathematical skills that I want to do CSI. Actually physically segregate their time and do their project work at that time, as an example, if you have a small desk. And fortunately for us, we have teams of these people, so they're able to focus full-time on that. We're going to give you examples of some of the things we've done, and we have a representative package of what we think the basic fundamental CSI package should be for ensuring you're getting high-level productivity out of your desk and be able to squeeze out costs. So next we have polling questions. John, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Bill. And I just wanted to remind the audience to go over the polling question, decide which of these answers is most appropriate for your situation, and then hit the submit button. With that, I want to bring in Paula Adamson-King to help us with, to talk through the polling question. Paula?
Thanks, John. Polling question number 1 is, what type of service desk does your company use? Answer 1 is hybrid. Technicians do both desk side and help desk. Local, on-site desk dedicated to supporting one company or operating unit. Or third answer is global, off-site desk that supports multiple operating units or companies.
Now, Paula, in your experience, what kind of service desk do you typically see when you first start working with a company?
John, that's a great question. Typically, we'll see a local service desk, which is an on-site desk, and it's internal. It's a group of analysts that are supporting one company or business unit. But we do see with smaller companies, we do frequently see hybrids.
All right, why don't we push our results at this point? Now, is there anything that really stands out here or surprises you in these results, Paula?
Yes, actually, John, there is. I'm surprised at the number of folks listening that have a hybrid service desk. That is folks that are doing both the desk side and the help desk.
Mm-hmm. Why the surprise?
Because typically I see the local with clients that we engage with.
Okay, thank you, Paula. Let's get back to our webcast now. Let me turn it back over to Bill.
Thanks, John. Okay, the key for CSI, whether it's a small desk, a large desk, or a multinational Fortune 50 company, in our view, is deep measurement. And what we found is the ability to do deep measurements and do analytics around the measurement is not limited to those people with huge resources and large math departments and engineering, et cetera. We found that it's possible no matter what your size. It's a matter of understanding that the opportunity find the skill in your corporation, and then to segregate that skill with specific time, work on a protocol. There's lots of great resources available. The HDI is an example. If you're not a member, I'd recommend you join, and then get the basic tenets. We're going to give you some examples of what we think the basic, what we call a tune-up, kind of the fundamental stuff that really has the most immediate return in productivity and cost reduction. We're going to show that a little bit later. But the key is deep measurements. We got some examples we'll talk about later about what we've done that actually have ROI to it. And then we also have activities with CSI that simply improves the value of the investment. We call what we do econometrics because in our environment we both have to do the modeling, baselining. We have to find opportunities to improve, reduce costs, etc. But we also need to package those and understand their implications as it relates to pricing them in the market and turning forward our services into a costed and priced model. So we use the term econometrics. The key to our measurements is the repetitive validation. So we run these protocols on a periodic basis. What we're going to show you here in a few minutes, we do at least 3 times a year for each desk. And in some desks, if it's small, it's really 2 to 3 days worth of work across the year. But the return on it is very substantial as it relates to understanding what can be expected in productivity from the desk and where there are opportunities for improvement. The larger desks, the returns can be quite dramatic in the 7 to 15% actual cost reduction range. And that's pretty important. We found ourselves in positions where we were given enough access early in the contractual life of a relationship where we could quantify what was possible, and we would contract those return on investment dollars for the clients. The key to that in this econometrics measurement is to make sure that the activities are consistently done and then bundled up in a way that can be handed to whoever's doing the service level management of the people at the desk for direct counseling and administration of what's recommended in changes with the individual analyst or the restructure of the desk from a staffing point of view, the hours of coverage, negotiating with the business if there are operating level agreements that don't make sense from a cost point of view or have a great opportunity for return to the business if they just understood changing the hours and rotating the hours from a 8 a.m. to a 7 a.m. And making it a 5 p.m. instead of an 8 p.m. Close at the evening before you roll over to escalation. Those types of things are all done from this tune-up. So we'll give you some examples. By the way, we did between August and December on about a 220 head count. We took out $250,000 just by running regular tune-ups during that particular period. So we had a very specific return on investment there. Example, of course, is understanding the hour and daily analyst performance. So protocol number 1, we do a heat map here to understand exactly when we should have people, where we should have them, and when their breaks could be scheduled. It's interesting, the concept of entropy really applies at a service desk. And your service level managers are often your people doing escalations, fighting fires, etc. And it's tough to turn attention to the blocking and tackling that some would consider this particular slide. But it's interesting how quick things can leak and shifts can get out of balance and call volumes can spike. And if you don't have a good anticipation of when that inbound contacts are going to arrive and staff to them correctly, you get these hot red heat maps. The second protocol is understanding exactly where our staffs need improvement down to individual analysts. So we benchmark each individual analyst. In our environment, we record all time and entry into the phone system, but there should, I'm sure in your environment, some method. If not, there should be. So you can measure when they reach their desk, when they log into their systems, when their applications are up, when they're logging out, how long are they on the phone, what's their after-call work, etc. And these turn into some pretty interesting measurements that are then used by the service level manager, who's the constituent of all the CSI measurements, and the tune-ups, which are advice and counsel. We'll give you a description of what the tune-up collateral is that the service level manager then sits down with and makes recommendations to the staff for changing their behavior, or the econometrics people who do the measurements sit down with the service level manager and show them where the low-hanging fruit might be for certain analysts, a change in their behavior or a change in staffing. Thirdly, in the area of analyst behavior itself, we had an interesting move where we had one screen display. So we did a project to see would more screen real estate reduce the amount of windowing that goes on and improve on the error rates of losing a particular window that might be necessary. And we found that we moved to about a 305% increase in screen real estate, going to 3 flat panel monitors from what we had before, which was a large single monitor. So we measured before, and we measured again 90 days before, 90 days after, and we actually got 2.5% improved productivity just by having those flat panels. We had an ROI at 2.5 months, which means on the number of calls we could take, we needed 2.5 less staff, or we could take 2.5% more calls. And that got materials. So if you have a 20-person desk, you're talking half an FTE on the course of a year to do something like this. Just understanding the improvement in that particular area. The fourth protocol that we worked on was making sure that we had the right people at the right times. So working off the staff scheduling, using Erlang C modeling, and I know some of you may have tools where workforce management tools. We actually have used workforce management tools, but found it easier for us to get very finite down to the hour by doing our own modeling. As a caveat, if you have an engineering department, a manufacturing department, a quality assurance group in your business, I would go talk to them about, could I borrow your Six Sigma person, your TQM person, your Kaizen person? Can I borrow them 2 days a month for my 10-person desk? And I think you'd be surprised that you may very well be able to run that business with a 8 or 9-person desk. Once you've had a few months, once those people have learned how to do these measurements, once your service level manager have taken the tune-up suggestions and started putting staff scheduling finely tuned into how calls arrive in your particular environment, and also understanding seasonality, cycles, trends, and anomalies, the 4 things that drive staffing, and how it hits your environment, you might be able to run 10, 15, 20% less staff. And what's interesting, in almost every occasion we've done this, we improve customer sat at the same time. So that is a two-edged sword. That's a beautiful thing. We do this tune-up output, and it's very important that you have someone independent of the service level manager, in our opinion. And that's find someone either in your TQM, your manufacturing division, find that other person, or bring in a consultant, or join the HDI local chapter and trade. Your SLM, spend a couple of days with a companion company doing this work, overseeing and implementing the outputs of the service improvement plans from your CSI analysis, and then that companion company sends their SLM into your environment to do the analysis and counseling. And that's worked really well for companies that are too small in their mind, don't have an engineering department, don't have that type of skill, people that have the math skills, the Six Sigma, et cetera. Go find a partner in your local HDI chapter or your ITSMF chapter and find a non-competing company and have the SLMs trade 2 or 3 days a month to provide these type of objective services back and forth between 2 companies. Here's some results. In this particular occasion, across our center, you can see we had dramatic results and improvement from our CSI investment, which we started in 2009 in hiring our first segregated econometrics people to do the measurements in our CSI initiative. In the middle of 2009, we split it away, took it away as a function from a service level manager, and made it a function discrete, a role separate from that of service level manager. And we had a pretty successful year, and in year 2, we almost mimicked the same level of success, but we actually had more complicated scope because we are a service desk, and as many of you know that are on the call, it's a good thing to have longer handle times and lower first contact resolutions if you're peeling off the easy stuff into automated tools and self-serve portals. Then you should have longer handle times and lower first contact resolutions because you're maturing what you're handling. You're handling more complicated stuff on behalf of IT to resolve users. And you're pushing the low-hanging fruit, like password reset, out into tools and self-serve portals into the hands of the users. So we had that occurring to us, but yet we still had the ability to take out costs at a very material level in our center. John, turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Once again, let me remind you, here we are at our polling question number 2. To answer the polling question, answer one of the questions, only one, and then hit the submit button to send us your answer. And with that, once again, let me bring in Paula Adamson King. I want to make sure I get that pronunciation correct. Paula, walk us through the polling question.
Thanks, John. Polling question number 2. How do you currently practice continual service improvement? Answer 1, we do not currently practice CSI. Answer 2, reactive, only using service desk staff on an ad hoc basis. Answer 3, service desk manager is responsible for CSI. Answer number 4, dedicated cross-functional team leveraging project knowledge and econometric expertise to proactively address business needs.
Paula, in your experience, how familiar are people with the concept of continual service improvement?
John, in my experience, people want continuous service improvement. Most folks aren't doing it today in a focused and organized way.
Well, why don't we take a look at the results of our survey? Any surprises here for you, Paula?
No, John, that's pretty much what I expected.
36% do not currently practice CSI. That's tracks with your experience?
It certainly does.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Paula. With that, let me turn it back over to Bill.
Thank you. I've already talked about a very specific case where we had hard ROI just on the screen real estate and the ability for an analyst to be able to visually have on the screen both his incident management tool, his knowledge tool, his email, places for chats, as well as our internal knowledge, our internal portal where we do our messaging and communicate with them what's happening in the building, as well as their stats for their particular desk are all streamed real time. And this, we had less than about a 2.5 month ROI just in direct productivity that we were able to do now. And that was important because I had no budget for new monitors. But this is one of those imperatives, I call it, where I was at the HDI annual event, and I was listening to someone talk about navigating screens, the screen real estate issue. They were talking about the assessments done at the stock exchanges and the day trading and places that are screen intensive. And I came back and asked my CSI team to go do measurements before. And when we saw it, we were very pleased. The next thing I'm showing you is really just an example of what my econometrics team talk about, and I don't really follow it. I actually do a little bit. But here's an example of what our team works with when they're doing the type of math. The heteroscedasticity, which is an interesting term directly relevant. I had to go look it up, and then I understood it's a single word that represents some pretty key concepts and how to do and what's important to understand about the service desk. This is giving you an example. If you're QA, you're TQM, or you dedicate a team and you get some Six Sigma black belt, or you have multiple people that you can throw into this, and you get yourself a kid with a graduate degree in math or analytics, econometrics, whatever, they're probably working with this level of documentation in the formulas that they're working with. Don't be afraid of it. Desire it. I could tell you that the key then is having people that can interpret this into what's the business change, what's the process change, how do I turn that into simple, very direct language that a service level manager can understand about what needs to happen at that desk. On the other hand, I stuck it in here because if you make that investment in a Six Sigma black belt, master black belt, or a deep analytic person, and they don't have this type of stuff working in background and calling up their college professor asking about how do I use this particular algorithm to solve this problem, then you may not getting the depth of CSI that's available to you. Okay, let's look at the analyst productivity. Here we took a look at just how long it took analysts' workstations to fire up, and we found out that we could harvest, for every 10 analysts, we had 22 hours a year of idle time waiting for their systems to boot. It allowed us to go check and see how much it cost to slap 2 more gigs of memory in every workstation per se. These are just simple examples. We'll get into more complicated ones. Here's a very important one. We had a global, very large Fortune 50 company that we perform service desk and other activities for. We had a specific contractually related operating level agreement where we were going to reduce calls. And you can see specific actions that came from the CSI team. Web form automation for service requests. These have all been implemented, by the way. Free-form email reduction to improve processing. Password reset automation. I was very surprised. We were surprised with this particular client to find out they had 2 previous attempts on password resets, but they couldn't get the adoption up. We worked with them on really kind of a marketing campaign and some polite socializing with their various departmental managers around the company, showing them using Cotter's principles of change, the 8 steps, of why they should push their users to try and reset their own passwords before they call the help desk. And then we also improved the training of the end users and our own analysts in certain areas. And we got aligned in processes with the client. That one's too complicated to explain, but that's very important that the service desk and the business have periodic interactions to make sure the processes at the service desk are vibrant, they have vitality and currency with what's going on with the business. And we do it through quarterly business reviews, formal sessions, and we do it by looking at all the incident information, service request information, using our CSI team to tell us what processes may be under the control and the auspices of the client, the business, that seem likely a change would be of value to both the company and the IT department. In this particular contact resolution activity, very successful results. Per user, their contacts trended materially from around 94% into the mid-70s over a period of a couple of years through adopting all of those things that we showed you previously. All of those were analyzed and recommended through the CSI process of an independent group, not the service level manager, not the analyst. They're consulted, but the analysis was done with the independent teams whose mandate and who are judged on their performance to find areas to improve. And they create what's called a service improvement plan, which is recommendations we take back to the business, and then you saw the 5 we implemented to get the kind of results that we got. Here's some hard dollar examples where that paid back in savings, which were passed on in this particular case to the client. Direct dollar savings that were proved out by implementing those 4 types of technological and process changes, some of which were largely process changes just within the workflow of the business. And some were things that we were doing just at the desk, and then some were collective activities socialized to the end users, asking them to adopt self-serve as an example. So you can see that there is ROI with CSI improvement, far beyond the investment, by the way, that we found. And one other thing that's interesting is the lagging indicator of improvement in the value of these investments. So quality of service, customer sat in this example, has a value. And you look at the trending across these various industries with the CSI we've done the last 2 years in a formal sense as a functional aligned group independent of the service level function, we improved customer sat. And I attribute that directly to the service improvement plans that came from the CSI team and the knowledge-centered support team. The service level managers, many of them have been in place for years. The contract that we have, the operating level agreements or the actual service level agreements have been in place for years, and things were kind of static. But having that independent third party, whether it's your person, it's someone you're sharing or trading off time with from another company you met through the HDI chapter, or it's the Six Sigma person that you get on loan from your marketing department or your manufacturing engineering department for 3 days a month, or whatever it is, just that independent focus, we believe, yields not only ROI, but there's a lagging indication it pulls up quality of service. Just the inspection delivers the expectation. And that's the key message from what we would want to tell you in this presentation. that the functional alignment for these things means are such you need to organize for CSI. Asking your service level manager to be an expert on knowledge, an expert on service improvement, a mathematical analytic expert, while they push people to answer the phone and be in the seats on time, it's really a tough job, and we think there's a better way. And you don't have to have full-time staff either to do it. So data-driven analysis winds up delivering business value, both ROI and VOI. John, that's essentially the message.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bill. Now, before we begin with our today's Q&A, please fill out the feedback form located in the information panel on your console. Thank you in advance for filling out the feedback form. Your participation in this survey allows us to better serve you. And now on to the question and answer portion of our event. As a reminder, to participate in the Q&A, and there's still time, just type your question into the text box, then click the submit button. And to help us with the Q&A, I'm going to bring Paula back in. Paula?
Hi, John. Thank you. Okay, first question is from Mary. And Mary asks, Bill, do we do CSI as a matter of course for clients, or is this a special project?
It is an ongoing routine. Those tune-ups are done 3 times a year in our environment. The activity takes anywhere from a day to 3 days of segregated analyst time, econometrics time, and they're done at least 3 times a year. If we're in the ditch with a desk, then we'll swoop in and do a specific activity on that desk with more than just the tune-up examples that we gave you. We really have about 20 different protocols that we've developed and have used multiple times, depending on what the business issue is. If we have a broken knowledge environment, we suspect it. We have some taxonomy, call classification assessments we do. We have some word clustering search for free-form note fields that we'll run on data. So we have various activities. But the point there is we're doing CSI for every desk, every month, all year long. And the key to that is at least touch it, in our view, at least quarterly, with a formal process that does all the assessments about productivity, staff schedules. That's the first place entropy takes in the service desk, where you get comfortable that you've been running those staff schedules that way, the call volumes have been this or that, but seasonality cycles, trends, those things start to move on you, and then you get overstaffed or understaffed, and your ASA goes to heck in a handbasket. But what we found is if you're managing reactively just to meet the operating level or service level agreements, and you're not looking at, do I have one more person than I need at 7 a.m., then you may have probably leaving money on the table.
Thanks, Bill. Question number 2. This question was submitted by Jim. Question number 2 is, what are the key results or measurements I should look for in my first 12 months of running CSI?
Well, in my view, your goal should be to barely make your service level agreed or operating level agreed measures of ASA and first contact resolution. Those 2 fundamental ones, you don't want to over-deliver on them. If you're over-delivering on either on a 12-month range, then you may be overstaffed. If you're under-delivering, it doesn't mean you don't have enough people. The next place you look is, what's my staff schedule? I think the heat map, you'll see it if you'll pull it down from the presentation. The heat map is visually probably one of the key tools to have the heat map run at least on a monthly, no later than a quarterly basis as it relates to your staff levels, and to make sure that you understand when you need people. And then you'll see the slide that shows the staff scheduling, and it's flipped to the heat map, by the way, and you'll see what level of staff scheduling you should have to make your service levels. Those are kind of the key fundamentals in my view. I could tell you that we bring on new clients. Since I've been doing this since the late 80s, actually been in and out of this business. Since I've been at Pomeroy, I've probably been involved in about 24 implementations, and in every case except one, when we brought something from an in-house shop, we were able to materially reduce, means 7 to 20% less staff necessary while raising customer sat. So that's kind of a target I would suggest that's anecdotal, but it's been my experience that if you're in-house, the odds are you got 10, 15% labor costs that you probably could engineer out, going to part-times, understanding call arrivals, et cetera, that can be harvested. And when you really have attention on it, the quality of your service to your end user ratings, if you're doing customer sat, if you're not, you should, sat probably will go up.
Thanks, Bill. Next question asked by Daniel. Daniel has a question regarding the 3 monitors, and his question is, in terms of the 3 monitors for the SDAs, how do you know that the SDAs actually require 3 monitors? My main reason for asking this question is in my organization, we currently have SDAs with 2 assigned monitors. In addition to this, is there a number showing how 3 monitors is better than 2 monitors?
Yes, we have both. We have both environments running. In fact, very good question. We have a specific team. We have about 50 of them that are not doing service desk. They're doing what I would call help desk, log, and escalate. And we went to 2 monitors for those people. The theory of the 3 monitors really was built upon the fact that the screen real estate necessary for us to have an incident management tool, a knowledge management tool, an email tool up and available without having multiple windows meant we had to be at least 2. The 3rd monitor is dedicated to our chat, internal messaging, and we do not have reader boards in our building. There are no reader boards anywhere. So we have up on the 3rd monitor is our internal communication display, and it's messages from me, it's who's in the building, it's their service level, clocks that are ticking off. It's all the desk information for them to reference and see that's real time, and most of that 3rd monitor real estate is for our management and communication to them. So the 2 monitors deal with the data and information they need to interact for clients. The 3rd monitor for us really works, think of it as a reader board, a status board, a communication portal between management and our analysts.
Great. Thanks, Bill. The next question we have is from Chad. And Chad's question is, what is the best way to help get your management excited and on board with ITIL? We get the "we are way too small, this is for large IT shops."
Well, that's absolutely not true. I would ask them if, they've got a couple of ideas that I've used. The first is, are you GAAP compliant in your accounting department? And why is that? You mean there's a common standard format that the world has decided is a better practice than everybody doing it their own way? Then you get into the secondary justification, such as when you're ITIL compliant, you understand that you have all the key roles for functionality filled with someone assigned and accountable, and to assure that all aspects of what's going on in IT are properly attended to. Then the conversation gets to be, well, do you really need foundations? Do you need experts? That sort of thing. I can tell you we settle on what is typically needed in a service desk and an operational area, and pretty much all of IT, with the exception of the CIO and the accountants in accounting, are essentially service operations, CSI, and transitions. And those 3 we have every manager in service delivery in our company. That's the basic bundle that they're required to have, and we bring in trainers to do. And having everybody on the same page, knowing what it means when you get assigned accountability is different than you get assigned responsibility. So you know what your role is on a project. You know who to turn to because you can find the RACI chart, they call it. Who is accountable for that particular project or that particular activity? But I would just kind of, if you had the type of relationship with whoever is challenging it, ask them, well, why is there a standard in your accounting department?
Thank you, Bill. We have the next question, and it is from James. And his question, Bill, is he would like you to explain heteroscedicity.
Yeah, I'm going to refuse to do that. I'd Google it up. I have 4 really bright people that work for me that can explain that. And I guess the point of that slide, as I tried to say, was to show you that you need people that can think at that level of data manipulation, articulation, and modeling. If you have someone and they're real comfortable and they tell you that they work in Tableau all day, or they work in Stata all day, or they work in SAS all day, then they're a likely candidate that they can help you with the analysis you need to get your ACD stuff crunched and your IMS tickets crunched to really know what that data will tell you.
Thank you, Bill.
I will tell you this: if you know multiple regression, if you worked in multiple regression at all, if you're a math geek, heteroscedasticity is the key component where you have too many variables delivered against multiple regression to be successful understanding what the coefficient is at 0.
Thank you, Bill. Our next question is from B. Chang. His question is, what is the best report generated to present to user department heads to justify the charges since IT is a cost center?
User satisfaction and first contact resolution. Hopefully you're measuring user sat and it stayed solid and it's at a good 4.25 or a good 4.5 out of 5. And your first contact resolution for what can be resolved at the service desk is in the mid to high 80s. And that means they're getting their value. And what you're doing is when their users have something to interrupt their work, you're getting them back to work, back to the main thing they should be doing. Or when they need a service for you, the service desk is assuring that that request gets fulfilled quickly and timely. So you're getting them back to work. That's why first contact resolution, to me, is the most important metric, and in-user sat being maybe it's co-equal.
Thanks, Bill. The next question is from Jefferson. Jefferson's question is, how has Pomeroy's CSI approach improved attrition rates with its service desk/help desk analysts?
Yeah, interesting. We don't really care and what attrition is. We're not betting on people anymore. People are very important, but wherever we need them, we'll get them. We're betting on process, knowledge tools, documentation, training, etc. So the old days of worrying about 10, 20, 50, 100% turnover in a call center, to me, if you're sensitive to turnovers, 25, 30, 50, if those numbers scare you, you don't have the processes, the documentation, the protocols, the knowledge tools, the incident management tools in place that you need to protect you from being hostage to individuals.
Thank you, Bill. The next question is from Thomas, and his question is, do you think the high number of hybrid, and he's referring to hybrid service desks, is due to economics, that is staff reductions and function sharing?
Yeah, it may be, but it's a myth. Those people that are asking a service desk or help desk people to get up and go visit a desk really need to go find some vendors to handle their break fix and their desk side support activities. It's clearly the most costly model, and it's a way to keep staff in a smaller organization, but it is by far the least efficient and lowest quality approach to user support.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Bill. I think we have asked all the questions at this point, Bill.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Let me say thank you, Bill and Paula, for a great Q&A session, and thank you, Bill and Paula, for a great webcast. For more information related to today's webcast, please visit any of the resource links, which can be opened by clicking on the information icon at the bottom of your screen. Within the next 24 hours, you will receive a personalized follow-up email with details and a link to today's presentation on demand. Thank you for attending today's presentation, The Fully Optimized Service Desk, Use Continual Service Improvement for Direct Bottom Line Impact, brought to you by Pomeroy and broadcast by Information Week. This webcast is copyright 2012 by United Business Media, LLC. The presentation materials are owned by or copyrighted by, if that is the case, Information Week and Pomeroy, who are solely responsible for their content, and the individual speakers are solely responsible for their content and their opinions. On behalf of our guests, Bill Coffey and Paula Admonson King, I'm John Sote. Thanks for your time and have a great day.